about DNA. We just found this out, and here's what they were going to find out from the DNA from the Jeep. Now, let me tell you what my thoughts are about this and why this was such a significant testimony. And that is, I have been suspicious that possibly Melanie Boudreaux Pulowski was the getaway driver. And I have done quite a few videos about that, and I've gone back and forth. Like, sometimes I think she is, sometimes I think she isn't. Many of you have commented when I did my video that showed the 911 call for Brandon Boudreaux that was going side by side with the driving, so we could see, is it possible for someone to be shooting out the back and then driving away around the corner, or did there have to be another driver? And still a little speculation on that. I could go either way, let's just say that. I was hoping we would have that answer solved from DNA. As soon as I saw that it was the DNA expert that was going on the stand, I was like, oh, this is it, this is it, this is it. And it kind of is, and I'll explain why what we found out today was so significant. But I wanted to, real quick, ask a few questions, and if any of you have any questions for me, let me know, and I'll try to comment, and I'll get my, can you bring up the questions to let me know what the questions are? No. Okay, so, yeah, go ahead, comment below, let me know. Do you think that, if you're following along with the trial, that it's significant what they found out from the DNA? And again, I'm going to explain my opinions about that in just a minute, and whether or not Melanie was tied in. I will say a couple of the things that came up during the trial today also makes me question Melanie. Again, I keep going back and forth, like, I think she's a part of it, I think she's guilty, and then I go to, oh, let's give her the benefit of the doubt, she had a rough upbringing, maybe it's not true, maybe she really wasn't. But then, as more testimony comes in, I'm going, there's so many things that make my brain say, that isn't how an innocent person would react. I don't believe it. But let's first talk about Lori. So we finally found out a little bit of what was happening yesterday when they had the get out of the courtroom and closed door hearing. And that was, Lori didn't want to go to court. She was like, no, I think I'm not going to. I don't know the details of that, other than that the judge had to send an order to the jail to say, bring her here with whatever sources are necessary. In other words, hook, line, sinker, bring her. She's coming. She doesn't get to choose. She doesn't get to choose. So they brought her, and they had that hearing, and it lasted quite a while. I think she got in quite a bit of trouble for that. Who knows what her excuse was? I don't know if she was trying to say illness, or who knows what. We don't know. I don't know if we'll ever know. But basically, she doesn't get to choose. And so, in the court she went yesterday. There was no, sign of her being sick or anything that we could tell from her trial yesterday. All right, so today, there's been a lot of interesting things. I think it's interesting that it feels to me like the two things that Lori's going after. One is the different discrepancies on the color of the Jeep. And I will say that there's been a lot of times that color, that particular color, depending on what type of light you're in or darkness, it's hard to say. And I remember my sister had a car that was that color, and we all would call it different things because it's in that weird, are we calling it gray? Are we calling it green? Are we calling it blue? Are we calling it charcoal? You know how some of these fancy paint colors can make you wonder. And so I just think, I'm glad that the investigator was able to say, and a lot of times people will just simply say the wrong color. So don't have that be your reason for not believing. I think it's interesting that the jurors asked that question. So that's one thing that I wanted to bring up. I also think it's interesting that Lori is she was trying to say, like, to me, what she was trying to say to the investigator is, why didn't you help Melanie? Like, Melanie was calling, she needed help, you didn't help her. But I think by her saying that questioning, I understand where she's going. She's trying to make Brandon look bad. That's my opinion. She's trying to make Brandon look like a bad guy because he didn't bring the kids back. She slipped that in there that, did she mention that he wasn't giving her the kids? And I'm like, oh my word. She's opening the door over and over and over because basically you could say, well, the reason he didn't bring the kids back to her, according to their agreement, was because he feared for their lives, and that opens the whole door for Idaho. So I don't know why Lori keeps doing that. If she thinks she's, do you think it's possible she wants the door open? I can't see why anyone would want the door open. I would guess that Trina doesn't want that door open because that opens a can of worms. Right now, I think it's possible that she could rap. She did that on the previous trial. She still had more witnesses, and she called it a day. I could see her calling it a day today or tomorrow. We could be seeing the end of this trial soon, as long as that door doesn't get open. If the door gets open, then it's a whole extra source of things. But all the felonies and all the things, all the convictions. But, yeah. Okay, so the other thing was when we were talking about this, and the jurors were asking, did you get a hold of Melanie? Did you whatever? And so I have watched the entire investigation interview when the detective interviewed Melanie with her child in the room. So there's a lot of times when it's hard to hear what's being said. But basically, she admits that she didn't really want to answer Brendan's call, and then you see her reaction for what she found out that he was shot at. There was no shock. There was no like, oh. Okay, so if my soon-to-be ex-husband was shot at, I would be hysterical. No matter what I thought about him, I would be worried, am I in danger? Who's coming after him? Are they coming after us as a couple, or is it just him? I would be thinking, okay, what is happening? Number one. Number two, I'd be worried, are my kids safe? Like, what is the story? I'd want to know everything. She did the opposite. Well, I just didn't really want to talk to him. I just didn't really want to. This is where I believe, because she already knew. Now let's talk about the DNA. This is the thing that I'm like, we know now that Alex's DNA was on the steering wheel and on the gear shift and on the passenger seatbelt. This is significant because if he had a getaway driver, that would explain why he was sitting in the passenger seat. Now, there could be other reasons why he would be in the passenger seat. When he goes to drop the Jeep off back to Lori, she may have driven him back to his vehicle. But the fact that there's more DNA on that steering wheel, remember, Tylee's already dead. Lori is driving the car, but I still am like, what about Melanie? And we know that she's a co-conspirator. There's the possibility that they're holding that information, that they know Melanie's DNA is there or not. And this is my question to you. Do you think it's possible that there still will be charges for Melanie, or is this going to be the end of this trial when it's over? That's my questions for you. So, yeah, it was an interesting day in court today. Okay, I want to just hurry and look through. I'm not very good at seeing these. Hi, Jason Sikdar. Sikdar. Hi. Say hi, Bill Torres. Well, thank you so much, and I'll keep you informed. The more that we find out, the more. What do you think? Comment below and let me know. when do you think this is going to wrap? Do you think it's going to be this week, or do you think this trial is going to continue on next week? Let me know. And don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you soon. See ya.